All right, we're going to talk a little bit about shoes. I know shoes were created with good intention to be able to protect the feet a little bit, keep our feet warmer. Then they became style. Then they became what they are now. However, is there a possibility that shoes were created with a deeper intention to disconnect us from ourselves, to disconnect us from the earth? See, our feet have over 200,000 nerve endings in each foot. That's a lot, right? And now something that's kind of fascinating about our feet, not only do they have all those nerve endings, but our feet are technically connected to every single part of our body. So when you're walking on an uneven ground, what happens is, say you step on a rock here, 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 what happens is you create pressure and you start pumping the lymphatic and the blood through the entire body. And that's very important. That's important to stimulate movement or flow, right? And if you're able to stimulate the lymphatic system, you're able to help move toxins through it, which is important. If you're able to stimulate blood flow, your blood carries the nutrition essentially throughout, or the oxygen and nutrition throughout to your entire body and your brain. It's pretty important stuff. And if you have lack of either of those, then what happens is your immune system starts going down. Now, another thing that our feet literally do is they actually ground us to the area around us, or the earth, ideally. So the earth has a resonance of 7.38, which is the Schumann resonance, and which I have a theory, I'll get into that in another video. But our bodies also range on 7 to 9 hertz. And so our body is generally, ideally, in sync with the earth's resonance, and that's important. Now, something too, since the earth is so big, when we're standing on the earth, what happens is the earth is technically able to absorb our vibration and then balance us out a little bit. Now, we are exposed to a lot of different things, a lot of chaos, a lot of EMF, a lot of Wi-Fi, phone signals, radio frequencies, all that kind of stuff. And all that kind of stuff our body absorbs, and it's positively charged. The earth is negatively charged, and so with that, it's able to absorb all that positively charged chaos that's inside of our body. So important. We're supposed to be able to walk on the earth barefoot to be able to help balance out our bodies internally and help us feel more connected and literally grounded. Just kind of like a house. For example, you have your houses that are always grounded to the earth. In case you didn't know that, when you're building a house, you have to ground a house to the earth. So any chaotic charge that the house takes through the electrical system is able to disperse itself into the ground and get rid of it. Otherwise, it'll fry the system. Now, with a little bit more and a little bit deeper, if we're not able to do that and we're experiencing all these EMF systems and all this chaos, over time that chaos affects our body, which I went into that in another video that I called the wobble effect, which is the stimulation of essentially radio frequencies on our body over an extended period of time and how it actually deteriorates our body. So if you want to go into that, it's a longer video, but check it out. And another thing, when we wear shoes are thick. They're like a rubber sole, right? And the thing with that is, that doesn't allow our body to connect to the earth, but it also changes the way that we walk. So everybody has different feet, and those feet are made for that person's body. For example, if you're taller, you generally have a little bit longer arms, you're a little lankier. When you walk, you sway, kind of like Bigfoot, right? And because of that, that person's foot is generally longer. They generally have a bigger toe and a little bit wider in the front foot. And that's to control their body this way, because then the arms control the body this way, right? Now, if you're shorter and stockier, your feet are usually stockier but wider, and they're meant to control your body this way. When you walk as well, our feet, my feet are dirty, but they hinge, right? So they hinge, all right? So if I'm stepping on something, technically, I can go down like this, right? If I step like this, that creates a lot of jolting. So our feet are meant to hinge like cat's feet. If you watch the way the cat walks and stuff like that, you'll learn a lot about how we're supposed to walk. Or if you kind of go, yeah, our feet are supposed to hinge. And when our feet hinge, it lowers the stress and the impact on our joints all the way up. Now, another interesting thing is that through some belief systems, our chi is absorbed and begins at the sole of our feet. And so walking is what allows our chi to be created and enter our body. And so if you're able to walk, you're able to stimulate your chi, which then also stimulates the entire rest of the body because our feet are connected to it. Builds our energy internally. Now, when wearing shoes, we don't walk consciously. If you walk barefoot, you have to step softly. And when you step softly, you step on the front of your foot and then you hinge to the back of your heel, right? And in doing so, you are softer on your knees and on your body. When you wear shoes, people walk heel to toe, heel to toe, heel to toe. And most of the shoes these days are flat-footed because they look cool. Adidas, fucking,
Nikes.
Yeah, some Nikes.
And then any good
Toms, like, there's so many shoes.
Vans?
Some. Yeah.
I mean, I've seen them and they're pretty flat, but they're thin.
Yeah. There's a lot of shoes that are flat-footed, right? And what this does is this causes you to slap, slap, slap. And that creates jolting. That creates jolting in our knees. So it starts at our ankles and it jolts our ankles. And then it jolts into our knees and it jolts into our hips and then to our lower spine. And it creates all these impacts that our bodies are not supposed to experience. Not only that too, it changes the way that we balance. Because, for example, tall people are supposed to balance a different way than shorter people. And because of that, if you're wearing shoes, it makes everybody try to balance the same way. And so you stop using those muscles inside of your feet. When you stop using those muscles inside of your feet, then your ankles get weaker. And when your ankles get weaker, what happens is the ankles begin to get stiff. And when your ankles begin to get stiff, then you start compensating for your lack of balance because your ankles are weak with your knees. And then your knees start to go inward because you're moving your knees in and out, in and out, in and out. And so then your knees start to experience an inward bow-like effect. Carry that on later years, and that goes to your hips. And then your hips start experiencing problems where it's like, oh, dude, this hip always hurts, and this joint over here always hurts. And then people get it in the low back, and then they're always arching their upper back, and then they start walking like this because we're walking incorrectly. We're walking wrong. We're disconnecting ourselves from the earth. And not only that, when you incorporate these shoes that are so soft, you're not activating all these nerve endings on the bottom of your feet. So you're not pumping your blood through your body. You're not working with your lymphatic system. And because you're not working with your lymphatic system and pumping it through your body, you're holding on to all these toxins. And all these toxins over time start to break down our body from the inside out. And also the lack of blood flow. The lack of blood flow throughout our body causes our joints to wear. It causes, a myriad of other problems, which we can get into in another video as well. But all of this is essentially just to say that we're supposed to be connected to the earth. We're supposed to activate all the different parts of our feet to be able to activate our lymphatic system and stimulate chi throughout our entire body. And when we lack the connection to the earth, our body experiences tensions, experiences anxieties, as well as overstimulation of electromagnetic frequencies. And if we can't get rid of those store inside of our body. And it's like, imagine putting a bowl in a china shop kind of thing. That's what's happening with those frequencies and all the toxins inside of our body, is that all that shit's running wild inside of us. And it's like, destroying us from the inside out. Not to mention that our body skeletally is actually breaking down because we are moving improperly. Yeah. And so essentially with I ended up doing a little work with the good old chat just to figure out what, the timeline of the breakdown is. And so, for example, 0 to 6 months. Your feet weaken intrinsic muscles in the arch into atrophy because shoes do the balancing and the stabilizing. Your nerve sensitivity dulls, and you reduce sensitivity feedback makes you lose your balance. You get mild swelling in the ankles, especially while sitting. Energetically, you get subtle static buildup from EMF stress, which naturally discharge, without the natural discharge. You get jitteriness and poor sleep. 1 to 3 years, you get ankle stiffness, loss of dorsal flexation, and so that's your range. And then you get knee compensation, and because you can't flex your ankles, and then your knees absorb the shock that are supposed to be absorbed through the arch of your foot and dispersed. You get hip tightness. Your walk or your gait shortens. It deactivates your glutes, your hips, and from the lack of grounding, and you start to have hip issues. Your circulatory, your lymph system gets stagnation. You get swelling, varicose veins, and sluggish in your lymph system. Your nervous system drifts out of sync with the earth. You get more anxiety, stress, and inflammation. 5 to 10 years. You get chronic pain, plantar fasciitis, shin splints, patellar my writing's bad. Whatever that was. And you get hip impingements. You get knee issues, and then you get hip impingements. And then with the patellar collapse and the inward knee rotation, you get pelvic hip issues. You get spine misalignment, arthritic changes, cartilage wears, osteoporosis in the hips. Your circulatory system is very, very sluggish. You get immune dysfunction. You get prolonged discomfort, a lot of body aches, bad sleep, and yeah. And then in 15 to 20 years, you get massive degeneration and increase. Your hip and knees generally need new replacement. Your mobility around your whole body lacks because you're holding your body improperly, because you're compensating for the way that you're walking and all the stress from hitting your joints in different ways. You get chronic inflammation, constant joint pain and stress. And you also get neurological decline because you're not activating all of the nerve endings in your feet. And then also you get balance problems. And then energetically, you experience burnout, depression, and disembodiment. And essentially what that is you begin to disconnect from your body mentally, so you don't feel the connection to your body. So all this is essentially to say, walk barefoot. It's good for you. It's how we're meant to be. Helps us discharge all the chaos in our bodies to the earth, and it activates the bodies the way that we're supposed to be. And not only that, for guys especially, who aren't walking around or stimulating their legs or stimulating their feet in different ways, you get lack of sex drive. And that is a massive problem in the U.S. as well as in other countries right now that are considered first world countries. And maybe it's the fact that we're just using our bodies less. So, Alright, yeah, I'm talking on. Alright, goodbye.